what is balance for a child? And when we say a child, I mean a child of 2 years to 5 years. What do you think is balance? How does a child look at balance?
If any parents wants to answer, can raise their hand. I'll come to you, hand over the mic, and then you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Genuine smile on the any child.
Genuine smile on the face.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But how does a child look at balance?
The genuine smile itself in its own sense.
Can bring a...
The child is blooming well and is balanced.
Correct. But can the child look at balance for his... Yeah.
I we don't think so. It's our parents who have.
Okay.
Child would have a view on balance. For parents, I think how much time we spend at home and how much time we spend in the school or play group or whatever. That I think is the balance. That I think for a parent.
Okay. So, is it a prerogative of the child to look at an education which is balanced, or the education's prerogative to look at drawing the right balance for the child?
Education.
Education, right? So one of the starting points which I want to bring forward is, at any point in time, the onus is not on the child to find something which is rightly balanced for the child. And yes, the onus is there on the parents, but there's an equal or even a bigger importance or bigger area of importance from the education, wherein it comes to people who are imparting education, teachers, schools, preschools. Now, for a child, if a child wants to know, or a parent wants to know that what is the right balance for my child, it has 3 or 4 key factors, which are essentially driven by research, by the biological construct of a child, by the age group of the child. But these are really the same for the age group of children whom we are talking about, which is age group of even 1 to an age group of 8. And this remains the same, especially for the first 7 years. So first thing is, what is the physical development milestones for my child? Second is the brain development, or is also called cognitive development in that sense. And cognitive development goes beyond just understanding brain development. It's about, in very layman terms, it's when a child starts reasoning. So say for example, the child understands the difference between hot and cold, smooth and rough. Now for an adult, it's very easy to understand, okay, this is smooth, this is rough. But for a child, it's a cognitive developmental milestone. Right? And then the third one is multisensorial, which is across various senses. When you're looking at anything for a child which is to do with education, it has to be a mix of all these. And most of the times we look at cognitive development at an early age, which we also say academics. Does my child number, from 1 to 10? Does my child know rhymes and all of that? That's just one small part, but physical, emotional are as important as cognitive development. Now, if that's the case, let me just show you how does a child's mind develop. What you see on the screen are actually neuron synapses connections, and these lines which you see are actually denoting the brain's development. What's the stage at which the brain has developed? So what you see on your leftmost side is at the time of the birth. So right from the time of the birth, the neuron connections and the synapses starts happening and the mind starts developing. And you would have heard about these stories about there being explosions in a child's mind and all of that, and that's true. Our head expands from behind, and that is also an indication of a brain being developed right from the time of the birth. Even in the child, even when the child is in the womb of the mother, there is brain development which is taking place. But then comes in the second stage, which is around 7 years of age, and this is a key milestone. And I will show you another slide which shows what are the critical periods of brain development. But age 1 to 7 is when 95% of our brain develops. And if we provide the right inputs or right surroundings or right stimulus to a child's mind at this stage, you've really done a great service to your child. I think this is very important to understand. After that is what you and me are going through. We are actually losing our mind. I mean, to say that this is an adult, and you can see after the age of 7 years, we start losing our synapses, right? So we may think that, many a times it's loosely said that, you should understand because मैं तुमसे बड़ा हूँ. So the other joke towards it is because आप मुझसे बड़े हो शायद आपका synapses काम नहीं कर रहा है, कम तेजी से काम कर रहा है. But this is true. This is scientifically true. Now this is where most of us are, which is your child in the age group of 1 to 5. And if you see these three curves, the first one is right from the time of birth when the child starts seeing things, hearing. So listening and seeing are the first two milestones. And again, for an adult, it's normal, right? We can see, we can hear, I can hear more, you can hear even better. All of that is fine. But the milestone starts right from the time of birth. What happens next is in the initial few months or the first year is language, wherein the child not only understands the language but also starts speaking the language. And just after that, where your children are, let's say 2 years plus, is when cognitive development starts happening. And if you see, this is the place which is between around 2 years to 7 years that maximum cognitive development happens. This is where the child starts learning to take decisions, making his or her own judgment, exploring things, knowing about surroundings, learning but also asking. Inquiry is very, very important at this stage, between 2 to 7. Right? Now, if we have this data, now start looking at how do you create the right balance for a child who is between 2 to 7. Right? So does your child, looking at all that data, does your child need just cognitive development? Does he also need physical development? Does he need also emotional and social development? He needs a little of everything, in fact. So this whole thought of school or preschool for that matter playing a very important role in child's life is true. But is that the only thing? No, not really. Because a child spends at a preschool 2 to 2.5 hours every day, and at a full school spends around 4 hours to 6 hours every day at an early age. But what about the rest of the 16 hours or 18 hours? At this age, children sleep more. Let's say they sleep 10 to 12 hours, but still there are a good 6 hours not doing something else. And the balance is just not drawn at the preschool or school, but also in our homes and in our surroundings. So I'm going to take and address one question which is normally a concern, that is preschool like a must for my child. What if I want to skip preschool for my child? So there are 2-3 aspects and which make preschool really, really important for a young child. One of them is about emotional and social development. Because your child, if is at home, you could do those play dates with your neighborhood children. For living in a joint family, there are, let's say, more children, all of that. The reality is that you can't get a structured environment or a surrounding for a good 2 hours every day for your child. And that a preschool can do. So forget the academic perspective or what the child learns academically, but for emotional and social development, preschool plays a very important role. Because the child gets to meet other children, learns the value of sharing, social interaction, interpersonal interaction. So that is where preschool is very important. If you ask me, I would advise you to create either a similar surrounding wherein the child can interact with more children, or similar stimulus wherein there are developmental toys, the child can play in the clay. It's very important for physical development at that stage to start gripping things. Stabilizing the neck. Because when children are young, the neck is not stable there. Like you said, a child to know balance is very difficult. So the child doesn't just is about to get his balance right, starts walking and stuff. Preschool that way plays an important role. Now, should you send your child to a preschool because you need to get an admission to a school after that and preschool will prepare? I think that should not be the reason to send your child to a preschool. You should send the child to a preschool because you're taking care of their emotional, social and physical development. Right? Now, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I'd like to add something here about the preschools. Like taking forward to what Nitin said, preschools are also very important in a child's development to make the child independent and teach him to collaborate with his own peers. For example, a child at home, if he needs water, he has only you or possibly a house help to ask for. But when he's in a preschool, he or she will automatically learn to go up to a teacher, maybe a didi, maybe a friend and ask. So this just opens the child up to many more stimulus. It makes the child independent and prepares him better to the next stage, which is a formal school.
Completely. So I think this is an important aspect. Ankita is a mother to a 2-year-old as well, and Meher has just joined the preschool this Thursday. So and we even in the office we've had several discussions between me and Ankita that is it really important to send Meher to a preschool? Why not look at a school directly? I mean, just for the ask of understanding, or just for the sake of a debate wherein whether she is deciding what she is deciding is right for her child or not. So that's my view on preschool. But going to a preschool for a school admission is not a good idea. I don't think so, because then you're subjecting your child to duress, to pressure, and then you would be looking at milestones of a different nature. You would be looking at ABCD हो गया पूरा, अभी colors आते हैं आपको, अभी vegetables आते हैं. Believe me, if you don't worry about them, the child will pick them up. But if you get into a preschool thinking that that's going to happen and that will help in the school, it may not be a good starting point. The child will come under tremendous pressure, right? So that's on preschool. Now, how do you choose? I heard some questions about choosing a school. Now, how do you go about choosing a school? So, as a parent, some of you have chosen school. So let me first ask the ones who have chosen schools, right? So, Raghavendra, how about you? What did you look at while choosing a school? What were one or two key things you looked at?
First I inquired about 2 friends from good schools. So I went there and I took the application and submitted. But I don't know that the admission is very tight, very tough. So I took my family to them, then interest is over, then there is no admission. It came in between. Then I decided which is the best. So okay, office, school and house. It should be very near.
So neighborhood was important.
So now I planned school and office is just near, just 5 minutes walk. School and the house is just 5 minutes walk, and office is 1.5 kilometers. So this way only I planned. I took my admission in the school and I stayed.
Also because you didn't have
whatever the time I spent for journey, the same time if you choose, I can
spend with the
focus on my
family.
children.
Yeah.
So I am the better teacher than the teachers.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought. So I took the decision.
Very
And
interesting.
very near to office.
Very interesting. Really.
This is my decision.
Okay. How about Raghavan?
Well, I looked at school infrastructure and connected with the teachers. They assured experiential learning, right? And that's primarily. And then what I was impressed with the teachers saying consistently one thing, that they said they will make the child confident in whatever the child does. So that's primarily.
Okay, great. Anyone else whose child is already going to school? What did you look at?
The child is, my child went to the Lavan as a preschool. Lavan is a school which needs integral education. So I could see the very calm, poised and happy child going to that Lavan. So that lets me to follow the same philosophy to carry forward for Shiksha. And the second thing is something intuitive also. That when we go for plots and things, very intuitive. My child has, before the day of plots, he told me that I'll get to the Shiksha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are 2 intuitive things which happen. And the third thing is that, which is very important, that we all are from professional backgrounds. So academic was
it's a concern, but at the same time, we are very sure about as a parents that academic we can take care of. What we can take care of is like a physical development. It's a balance, not physical development, not means of doing cricket or basketball. It's more his body structure and his personality development, physical aspects. So that we can't, because how much I can give a child, I can't run around with my child for more than 15 minutes is more than enough, actually, practically. And other thing is that what I like in Shikshanta, that they get choice time and everything in a progressive schools like this, that the child is making decision for himself at this early age.
Yeah.
And
So the child can decide what does the child want to study today.
maybe not 1.5 of that. There is a period called choice time.
Yeah, the choice time.
And in that particular choice time, he is able to decide what he wants to do.
What he wants to do.
And
Yeah.
actually, me as a individual, my father has given me this for every decision I've made in my life to decide for myself. So when any individual makes his decision, then whatever pros and cons, whatever difficulties, hurdles he faces, he crosses over because it is his decision,
True.
not his parents or
True.
his education.
True.
These all factors make me.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, coming back to what we've learned from our research and findings spread over around 20,000 of our parents, and these are largely metro parents. They have a large constituent of Delhi NCR, but this is truly national in that sense because it has Bangalore, it has Bombay, it has Pune, it has Chandigarh, Jaipur, Indore, small, so tier 1, tier 2 towns mixed together. We've come to know about 6 factors which have really helped in children's development. We further vetted with our own research on child's developmental milestones, our own understanding of linguistic development, cognitive development, physical, and a balance of them. So I'm going to tell you about these 6 factors. Very easy to understand, correlate, and also implement on a day-to-day basis. Even if you're looking for a school, preschool, or anything for your child related to do with development. First factor, which is very important, is infrastructure. And infrastructure is very loosely defined. At times it's कितना बड़ा स्कूल है और कितने ग्राउंड्स हैं और कितने AC हैं, air condition of late. So please don't count air condition in infrastructure. Air condition, we're not saying that air condition is not important, but while you're looking for a child's real development, air condition will become dysfunctional to it, or it will become incidental to it. If the weather is bad in, let's say it's really hot in Delhi, it makes sense for schools to have AC. But if the weather is really great in Bangalore, do you really need an AC? Right? So it's something like that. But here we are talking about the school campus. And when I say school campus, you mean, is there a separate acad block? Is there a separate place to play for your children? Are these clearly demarcated? Or is there in that sense, a khichdi of sorts? So that's not a good news. That means these places are managed by the same set of people, which is not a good news because then there are no experts of each area is managing them. So very small thing. When you try and test this, you will find this true 99% of the time. You go to a school and you find a common or a mishmash place, you will find most likely that the same person is managing all of them. So then that becomes a disincentive for a child, and that may not be a balanced option. The second thing to look at is whether the ceiling space is compromised to fit in more number of children, or there is ceiling space to let the imagination of the child work in the classroom. So in young classes, do you find the walls with children's work, or do you find the walls curtailed with a false ceiling? False ceiling in a school is a bad news. It's not a great thing to have in a school. It's a great thing to have in an office, but not in a school. If you don't find places for birds' nests in a school, it's a bad news. You may feel, there are bird beats in the school. That's a good news. most likely, we say that the school is dirty, but if there are birds in the school, if there are open spaces, that's a good news. The second thing is in terms of more so academic and cognitive development, like we were talking, subject labs. Why are subject labs important? Because then again it gives a focused approach to each subject. So not so much for a young child, but let's say for a 6-year-old, math lab can really turn around a child's interest in that subject. Because math is not really easily graspable for all children. It depends from a child to child. Similarly, a linguistic lab, an art lab, technology. Is the school blinded with technology, or are they using it discreetly? Are they exposing the children to a tab just because the neighboring school has it? Or are they introducing tab in a way which is incidental to academic learning? These things are very important to look at while you're looking at infrastructure. Right? Second factor, faculty. I put faculty right up in the beginning because again this is a misnomer that all schools have almost the same faculty. That's not true. India has, you can count on your fingertips, India has very limited number of teacher training colleges and institutes. They are all put together, they are less than 50. Each one of them churn out not more than 50 teachers every year. How many teachers, qualified teachers do you have every year in India? Less than 2,500 coming out from these institutes. How many do we need? We need 50 million teachers. So have an extra eye to look at what is the teacher's qualification and experience and look at a mix of both. Some of the qualifications in majority, if you see, especially for your child's class, is a B.Ed or an M.Ed. Okay? And you can't be choosy about which college and stuff because that's, like I said, there's just 50 odd in India who have this kind of a course. The second thing to look at when you are looking at the school's faculty is the principal, because the principal in the school drives the teacher training. And if the principal interaction for you has been very top down and you haven't really understood something which is of developmental importance, chances are that's going to be the name of the game when the child is in the school.